I'd like to know what. Could be anything. It could be a raptor, it could also be a leopard. Or a lion in actual fact. Just a little bit behind us. So what I'm going to do now is scan, coming from behind it. I'm scanning the bush at the moment to see if I can see anything. I can't see anything immediately apparent, which is a good sign. So exactly where you're looking at the moment, behind that tree, that's where the alarm calls are coming from. I can't actually see the mongoose. They would have dived for cover at the first sign of whatever alerted them. They live in social groups, and while the family is foraging, one of the social groups will always be on the lookout for predators. Now, they're quite small, these little guys, and they get preyed upon by a whole variety of different predators, from snakes through to large predators like leopard, and then also birds. So these guys giving us a warning call over here. I'm busy looking not only for snakes, I'm also looking for raptors and birds of prey. I can't see anything. Doesn't mean that something's not here though. As I said, the bush is telling me that there's a predator here. And until I know what predator that is, or have an idea of what predator that is, we can't be too sure that it's not a leopard hiding in the grass right here. So they're still giving the alarm call. More than one in actual fact is giving the alarm call. If it was a snake, only one would be giving an alarm call. But a large predator or a bird is what I'm thinking at the moment. So the alarm calls are coming from just further off to our left. So I'm going to reverse a little bit and have a look. There's a large torchwood tree. Here's the torchwood, Balanites species. Quite often thick trees like this would harbor a raptor like a goshawk who do hunt from cover. I don't see any goshawk in this tree at the moment, so that discounts a goshawk. I don't see any eagles flying over me, so that discounts an eagle. So the only thing that I can think of is a ground-based predator that's run into these guys. So we've got snake, we've got any number of cat species, from African wildcat, serval, caracal and leopard, and then we've got snakes. So now the only other option left to me is actually to take a quick walk in here. Now, for those of you worried about my safety, don't worry too much. I'm going to be relatively close to the vehicle. I'm not going to walk very far away. You'll be able to see me. And I'm just going to go and have a look. The reason being is, out here, you've got a couple curiosity with a bit of caution. But what we do is we take calculated risks. I'm calculating the odds of there being a leopard right here or a lion being right here as fairly low. But what I am inquisitive about, I want to know what these mongoose are frightened of. And what it could result in is us having a nice sighting of a python or some other big snake, or a rare cat species like an African wildcat or a caracal, which you don't often see. So I'm going to take a risk by jumping off the car. It's something that I've done many hundreds of times, and it piques my interest to understand what makes these little guys so jumpy. So they're still giving the alarm call. It's not too far away from the car, 20 or 30 meters. I'm going to ask VM to stay on wide angle, because quite often you spook a bird of prey out of a tree close by, and I'm going to see if perhaps we can get something out of the bush here. Give me 5 minutes. So I'm not too sure at all what was giving them an alarm call. So if I were to take a guess, it's probably a bird of prey that flew quite low down over them and gave them all a big fright, and has got them all jumpy and giving their alarm calls. But there's absolutely nothing where they were standing. I found them as I walked in there. They gave me a little bit of space. They're all in the grass over there watching me and moving about. It's a little social group of dwarf mongoose. Nothing that is immediately apparent to me. There is something here. Something spooked them, but I couldn't find out what it is. So it's either a bird or it's a snake that was hunting them, but nothing immediately apparent. So let's carry on with our safari. I'm still busy scanning the tall trees out here. My gut feel tells me that it was a bird of prey that's come over here. Goshawk or sparrowhawk, or even one of the smaller eagles like a African harrier hawk. But nothing immediately apparent. So we're going to be carrying on. We're going to move out of that particular area. So notice in front of us, the road is actually quite wide. This is one of our fire breaks. Our fire breaks in an area like this is vitally important. They are used in preventing fire from being able to damage too much property. Fire has to happen in the bush. It's a way for stop them too much. We will try and stop them from burning down property, lodges for instance, which poses significant safety risk. And here on the road beneath me I have female leopard tracks. So we've got relatively fresh female leopard tracks on the road in front of us. What I'm going to try and do now is following the sequence of tracks, I'm going to try and determine an approximate age of this track. So was it laid down this morning? Was it laid down yesterday? In other words, is it fresh enough to invest time and effort in following? By fresh enough, because it takes quite a while to track or trail these animals, you want a set of tracks that was laid down within a couple of minutes to a couple of hours of where you are, where you find those tracks. So the one track that I did see back there was done in some soft sand. Soft sand can hold a track shape for a while. And now I see that the leopard track has got a millipede. I'm going to see if I can actually show this to you. So that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about in terms of what the newspaper has just told us about this track. Now, let me see which is going to be the easiest track for you to see, but believe it or not, that set of indentations in the sand is the track of a female leopard. Now with a grass blade I'm going to try and show you back of the pad there, and the toes, 1, 2, 3, 4 toes that have registered. Now the leopard is walking in this direction. So this is the direction of travel. And you will notice that this funny line here, this light line, that is a millipede. Now millipedes only walk around at night time. So the track was laid down, then the millipede came over it, which tells me that this track was made early evening before the millipedes got active. So early evening, which was yesterday afternoon or yesterday night. So at the moment these tracks are not fresh enough to follow, although we're going to be moving in the direction she's traveling down the road and see if we can pick up fresher tracks. Now what's quite interesting is I can actually tell you that this track is the back foot of a female leopard, and it's the back right foot of a female leopard. And the easy way of doing that is you take your fingers and you put them in the toes and you see which ones match up. And you'll notice that this outside toe is slightly lower than that toe. If I had to put a piece of grass there, you'd see what I was meaning. And it matches my fingers. So this is the back foot, the back right foot of a female leopard with a millipede track over it. So let's carry on going down the road. So anywhere in the night, in an evening, so leopard walk around at night. They walk around a couple of kilometers a night. We've got a drainage line in front of us. She may or may not have made a kill. She may have been marking some territory. Only by following these tracks will we actually find out exactly what she was doing. So William has just asked me what my full name and surname is, and please excuse me if I'm not doing it enough, folks. I know it's my second drive out here, and for those of you who've been watching the show for a long time, you may not recognize me as, or you may recognize me as a new face, I should say. So my name is Stefan Winterboer, and I'm a South African by birth, and I was born in Pretoria, which is the nation's capital. I'm going to be turning around over here. Her tracks don't come out onto this particular road. So my gut feel tells me that this animal crossed over the road, directly over the road. It's not uncommon. Leopards tend to walk in trajectories, in linear trajectories. So they don't like to jink around. They may do to visit a tree or hunt something, but in general what they do is they walk in one particular direction for a bit, and then something happens and they change that direction. So because we haven't got any tracks coming out on this road. I've got a feeling that she's in the bushes on the left hand side of us, or have moved through this block. The tracks are not that fresh. We're going to go around to the other side of this block and see if she comes out. Obviously keeping our eyes and ears open for any telltale signs that she might still be in the block. These would be animals giving their alarm calls predominantly as a way that we find that information. Failing that, and given enough time, we may actually track her footprints into the block with the hope of putting ourselves into the mindset of the animal. You get that information from the tracks. Is she walking fast or slow? You get it from studying the behavior of these animals over long periods of time. When was the last time she ate? Has she got cubs? Is she being... Liam's just spotted a steenbok. Ah, there we go. Now that is a very good spot there, Liam. Well done. That is what Kunyuma was eating. Those being duiker, steenbok, klipspringer, only 3 dwarf antelope actually. Duiker, steenbok and klipspringer. You don't find sharp-scraced buck on this side of the reserve. Steenbok, good spot there, Wiem. They hardly ever stand out in the open. They don't enjoy thick bush. That duiker enjoy thick bush. These guys enjoy their open patches of grass, but they're very quick to move, usually sprinting away as soon as they see that you've seen them. Okay, it stands through there. They're also browsers. And steenbok have some quite interesting behavioral characteristics. Because they're obviously small and don't possess a massive set of horns or anything else that they can really attack a predator with, their best form of defense is to be unnoticed. And what they do is they freeze. So if they had to see a leopard or a cheetah, they freeze and they sink down onto their haunches. And they lie absolutely dead still, not even the flicker of an ear. But it goes one step further. They're also well known to bury their dung. So very similar to a house cat who will dig a scrape in their litter box, defecate, and then scrape it up again. Steenbok exhibit exactly the same behavior. They dig a scrape. The temperature heats up too much. I promise you I'll put on, but thank you very, very much. Also, on the note of getting to know me a little bit better, I do have some favorite animals in the bush. I have a favorite in terms of hyena and honey badger. I really, really enjoy hyena and honey badger. Those are my 2 favorites. I do enjoy watching leopard and lion. Obviously their presence is just phenomenal. They definitely have a special place in my heart. But in different aspects and different types of the bush, I like different things. I've guided and toured across most of southern and east Africa, and in different areas, different things hold my attention. Definitely a common denominator is spotted hyena and honey badger. Do I have a bucket list of animals that I'd like to see? Absolutely. I would still like to spend some more time with pangolin and aardvark. Excuse me, waving like this is just you drive through these bands of flies out here that absolutely irritate me, so I enjoy swatting them around. So it's not me doing some funky dance. I definitely like to see some of the rarer antelope species, Liechtenstein's hartebeest and Defassa waterbuck. I enjoy touring through areas as well. Seeing new sites, visiting new national parks, camping out in the wild. Go right ahead. So Wiley on Twitter just asked me if you find any of the other dwarf antelope species like Sunni out here. There are no Sunni in the Sabi Sands. You do find Sharp's Kruisbuck, Klipspringer, Duiker and Steenbuck. The common Duiker. Many different types of Duiker in Africa. The further you get toward the tropics, the Duiker species actually increase in number, and in places like the Congo and in the very thick tropical rainforests around the equator, Duiker species are the most common of the forest species that you find. Quite a big diverse mix of them. Like here you only find the common or the grey Duiker, the Steenbuck, Klipspringer and Sharp's Kruisbuck. So I'm sorry if I created some confusion there with my bucket list of animals. Simon on Twitter has just asked me what is a pangolin. And that's a good question. Another word for a pangolin is a scaly anteater. The closest thing that I can find in my brain at the moment as a comparison would be a armadillo, but with plates, round plates on them. It's a tiny little animal, probably about this big, and has these discs on it. They're scales, but they're quite big scales, and they eat termites and ants. Now, the reason why I stopped there was because we've got some fresh elephant tracks on the floor. They are going away from us, but they're also not that fresh. They were made probably early this morning, so I'm going to circle this block and see if we can find this elephant as well. It's nice. The elephant tracks and the hyena and the leopard tracks are all going in a similar direction. So it works in our favor in that we seem to have a convergence of the two animals that I'm wanting to find this morning. Let's have a quick look while we're here at what's happening at the dam. It's still a little bit cool this morning, so I doubt too much will be happening here. With that changing as the day heats up. As the day heats up, these dams become the focal point of a lot of interaction with animals, or a procession of animals that come in and go out. At the moment, nothing much except for grey heron fishing on the far bank. Like this. 1 or 2 minutes just to scan the fringes of the dam. You'd be surprised at what can hide away at the fringes of the dam. We are in a drier time of the year. We haven't had as much rain as what we've expected to have this year. Looks like we're going into everyone's predicting that we're going into a drought, and it certainly looks that way. And quite often predators, as it starts getting drier, would start to concentrate their hunting efforts around dams and pans. They know that the animals must come to them. Unlike when it's wet, they have to go and find animals who are spread thinly through the bush. So it's always a good idea. We have come here, take some time, scan around. It's called glassing, when I take my binoculars and I glass the fringes and in the shadows and likely hiding places and ambush spots. This is Buffelshoek Dam. For those of you who are familiar with the property, and definitely a focal point for a lot of action, cat action, over the last couple of weeks. Go right ahead. Excuse me, just repeat a bit slower. So Brenda in Pennsylvania has just asked if there's any safe areas to fish in the Kruger National Park or in its surrounding areas. Hello Brenda, thank you for your question. The Kruger National Park is a national park, and therefore fishing is illegal. The mandate of the Kruger National Park is to protect biodiversity in all its forms, and so fishing, unfortunately, is not some very good trout fishing in that part of the world. There's also very good yellowfish fishing and even some tiger fish that you can find in the Sabi River. And I do have friends that fish quite often for the yellowfish and for tiger fish in these areas. However, I'm not too sure if there's any places specifically designated for fishing. Only designated fishing places I know of are in Dilstrom for the trout. Right, so I can't see anything around the dam. So I think let's carry on quartering the block where we found the elephant tracks going in and the leopard tracks going in, and seeing if we can't get either in front of those tracks or onto some fresher tracks along the same sequence. this time of the year, the bush has this lovely warm smell emanating from it. As autumn's approaching and the trees are starting to drop their leaves, you'll notice on some of the trees the yellow and gold colors of the dropping leaves in the grass forms a mat on the floor, and the action of decomposition and breaking down gives the air on still mornings like this the most wonderful, warm, toasty, musty smell, which is indicative of this time of the year. May is one of my favorite months. The grass is starting to lie flat and the trees are starting to lose their leaves, which makes looking into the bush a lot easier. And the animals are very well fed after a good summer, so they're not looking gaunt like they are at the end of the dry season, which we're going into at the moment. And the blessing of cooler evenings and cooler days also make it a lot easier to live out here in the bush. Yeah, definitely started getting everywhere. That, just let me know when it gets back to normal. Sorry about that jumpy signal, folks. In some places of the reserve, we're going through these dips of low altitude and bush. Sometimes it's difficult for our antennae to talk back to find control, but it's only, thankfully, it's only in a few small areas in the reserve. And we are back online. We had a question come through from Jeffrey on grey herons, whether they nest or where they nest. Been known to nest in communities as well. So you would have noticed another game drive vehicle just come past us. That was Aubrey. we can say thank you to him for finding Kunyuma this morning on that Steenbok hill. He was the one that was helping me in the area. I'm hearing a Franklin alarm calling in the drainage line just next to us. Now it's very thick inside there, but it is in exactly the vector that we are expecting that leopard track to come out somewhere in. So the Franklin doesn't sound, it's not giving an alarm call, it's just making a noise like it was disturbed. Aubrey has just driven through there. So it's not to say that the Franklin is not giving an alarm call to Aubrey, but it definitely is worth a closer inspection. All these little tidbits of information, track from last night and Franklin giving a call and the thick bush and just my general gut feel after all these years of doing this just builds this excitement in you. It builds this expectation of seeing something pop out of the bush, either on the road or somewhere close to where I am. I'm going to switch my car off for a bit and just listen a bit closer. In the screen, it might be difficult for us to get. If you zoom in, if you can, there's a green pigeon in the jackalberry. Okay, in the center, the direct center of the screen is a green pigeon. There we go. Yellow socks and all. Very difficult bird to see in the foliage of a tree. Have a look at that. Not an easy bird to get on film whatsoever. I must say congratulations to VM for that. Camouflage pigeon. It's the largest pigeon that we find in this particular area. And it's a frugivore, which means that it eats fruit, and it's in a jackalberry at the moment. You can see its beak actually had some jackalberry fruit all over it. Beautiful coloring, it's green just like the foliage. Yellow socks. And while I'm listening for more telltale signs here in the bush, it's going to be a nice thing to see. Some more Franklin calling in the background. There he goes. High up in the branches of a jackalberry tree. A green pigeon. Something nice to check off your list of birds this morning for those of you who are interested or in the birds of the area. So you'll notice I'm driving quite slowly, and that's just to give me enough chance to quarter both sides of the road and scan, and to listen without wind noise in my ear, and to give me a chance to make use of any sandy patches on the road to see for tracks. Franklin has calmed down completely, so he was just having a moment. He's not giving any alarm calls. Sorry, Aubrey, could you repeat that? Or last station, just repeat that message. Copy that, thanks. So we're following this drainage line, and we're quartering our way through the bush where where a little bit earlier we've picked up some leopard tracks moving into this area. It's a female leopard. The tracks were from early last night or yesterday afternoon, and now what we're trying to do is pick up where she left the block and see if we can see her, or see if we can get any or onto any fresher tracks. There was also some tracks of an elephant moving into this area, an elephant bull. Big. Now with them diet changing from grass to more woody species of tree, where we are now is a good place to look for them. Don't forget, you're welcome to send your questions through on Twitter at #SafariLive, or email them through to questions@WildEarthTV. Right ahead. So William on Twitter has just asked me if I've heard of any talk or any developments around bringing back carrier pigeons. William, I haven't. I must be honest that I thought that carrier pigeons were extinct. Although you may have found that they found some genetic material from somewhere, and with the advances in science that they've got today, I wouldn't put it past them to find a way to bring back carrier pigeons if they found some genetic material. I thought, as far as I know, at least anyway, that carrier pigeons have been extinct for a while. However, the beauty of the the beauty of what we have at the moment is we can put that question out there to the world. So if any of you have any information or can find any information on carrier pigeons and their potential of being brought back from either the fossil record, or if there was some or other type of carrier pigeon that I didn't know about that was in captivity somewhere, please, you're welcome to share it with us either on Twitter or email it through to Final Control, and I'll share it to the rest of the viewers. What I did want to show you over here is a sign on this branch. You'll notice that there are some scratch marks on this tree. That is typical of lion. That's a lion who has walked down this road, and there you can see 3 of its claw marks, sharpening his claws. And the stop that this has given us, or the chance to stop that this has given us, is let me hear squirrels that are giving a big alarm call in front of us. So I'm quickly going to rush off and see what is giving this squirrel a hard time. I'm quickly going to move into this area. Squirrels don't often call for long. I actually think that I want to get into the drainage line. Let's quickly just check on this road, and then I think I'm going to go into the drainage line. You see, folks, I'm going to pick up the speed a little bit, and the reason for that is that if it is a leopard, which I'm expecting it to be, this female that we've been tracking, if she gets seen, quite often they move out of an area when they get seen by a squirrel quite quickly, and all you're left with is a shouting squirrel and some tracks in the sand, and it takes you forever to try and find this animal again. So we're quickly just going to jump into the riverbed. That squirrel sounds like he's shouting into the riverbed. I'm going to see if we've managed to read Piloerection. It's when they erect that crest of hair, and it is a way that kudu fight. That's how they fight. It's not that he fought, was he presented himself broadside and he erected that fringe of hair, or that crest of way that they show one another who's the boss. I want to get forward a little. We're going to get onto him in a second. Those corkscrew horns, have a look right there. You can almost see straight down the middle of them, and that really thick neck for carrying around that rack of horns. Full-grown male kudu, he won't get any more turns in his horns. That's the maximum amount of turns that they get. And you get kudu with widely splayed horns and kudu with closely growing horns. He seems to be somewhere in the middle. Right here. A blower on Twitter has just asked if the number of turns is an indication of age, and absolutely. They will reach a maximum amount of turns in about 2 full turns, with the start of the 3rd turn. And I'm actually just going to see if in one of my books in my car I have a picture of the different horn twists, because it'll give you a nice indication of what I'm talking about here. I have it in one of my books. Just busy seeing. If you give me 1 second and I'll try and find a demonstration where they've got a graph of the different ones. But basically, that was a full-grown kudu. He won't get any more turns in his horns. Yeah, and mammals. Give me 1 second, everybody. No, unfortunately, in all my books, I don't have one single picture of the different horn lengths of the different ages. Please excuse me on that one. I'd actually need a bigger car if I brought more books, and it doesn't have the answer to that question. But basically, in their first year, they won't have any twists in their horns. In their first year, they will only get a half a twist. In 2 to 5 years, they will develop the other twist and a half. And from 7 years onwards to 12 years, they will be the full-grown kudu with the 2.5 twists. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry I can't show you a picture. Big kudu, and this kudu is actually half a twist on the kudu we just saw before. I'm going to see if we can get to see him. There's a youngster. They are some of the most beautiful. Have a look at that. Ears almost as big as mine. Bit more hair on their head than I've got. This is a youngster. It was born last summer. They're born mostly in February. She looks like she's just had a milkshake for breakfast. Can I have a look at this big male here on the left hand side? This time of year the male kudu are in attendance with the females because they're wanting to mate with them. They're not, male kudu are very hard to find, generally speaking, because they are solitary. There we have, and you can see he's moving off. He's quite shy. We're going to try and see if we can get it as we pass. Have a look at that. Oh, and there he runs away. That was an impressive kudu. Here's a female. That's who he was hoping to impress. She's a full-grown female. further indication of what to make squirrels upset. It's not to say that there isn't anything in there, but squirrels stopped calling, the kudu were quite relaxed. The bush wasn't giving us any more indication that there was anything there. So what we're going to do is we're going to carry on quartering through the area and see if we can't pick up some sign, further sign. And it is a place that I'd like to go back and visit some more, is your blue whale viewing off of San Diego, and I'd really like to go and see General Sherman, your massive sequoia redwood that you've got further north. As far as we all know, it's the largest living being in the universe. And it lives in the time that we're alive on this planet, and something that I definitely want to have a look at before I move on. So the folks who've joined us just recently and are wondering why I'm driving so slow and keeping it to the area where we are now, I'm just taking my time to make sure that I don't miss any of the signs that we could miss, and not driving fast in the wind in my ear, block out the sound of alarm calls or branches breaking. It's also the area where yesterday, for those of you who were watching yesterday, would have seen the lion, the two male lion with the female. We're very close to where they were yesterday, and it might account for the fact that this leopard that we're following doesn't seem to have come out in this particular area. They would have left a considerable amount of scent marking around. They were there for most of the day yesterday, and from what you saw, they were busy roaring their heads off. So any other predator coming into this area would be aware of that and would be more wary of just walking nonchalantly down the road. These animals do have a sense of where each other is. They won't be able to pinpoint exactly, but lion roar all the time. Their kills are quite noisy. Other members of the pride in other areas will be able to hear that, and similar goes for leopard. Leopard also mark and make noise and disrupt the bush as they go through it. Another leopard in the area will also be able to pick up on that. And without really pinpointing, so no sign of those cats coming out here, or that, not of the lion or of the leopard from yesterday. What I thought we'd do as we're reaching the end of our broadcast is let's pop our head back into Kunyuma on his steenbok kill and see what he's gotten up to. I have no doubt that he's probably still stretched out under the tree, busy enjoying a belly full of tasty steenbok. Go and see what he's been up to for the morning while we've been searching. It's been a relatively quiet morning across the reserve today here at Djuma. You know, as we go off into the afternoon, it's almost like a fresh slate. What you found, or what did you hear? You're picking up bits and pieces from rangers who have made some notes during the day. And while we all have breakfast together and strategize about what we're going to do in the afternoon, it gets the creative juices flowing, for lack of a better word, and sets a challenge. You know, it's you basically pitting yourself against animals here, finding out where they're doing what and where's the most likely place that they're going to be. And I must say it makes for enlivening breakfast table conversations between game drives, the so to say behind the scenes action. I must say thank you to my extended team, and that's yourselves, of course. For instance, there's a lot of Twitter chat that on the Djuma cam that there's just been a giraffe down to drink at the water. So for those of you who are new to this product, you're welcome to go and have a look at the static cameras that we've got around. They are often a great source of wildlife viewing, and it might fill the gap between when we see from now to when we see you again. And thank you very, very much for all your feedback on Twitter and across the emails. It's definitely so nice to be able to talk to you and be able to answer your questions, and you're welcome to send more. So we're right back in the area here with Kunyuma and his steenbok kill in the tree. Sun is So he's not in the tree at the moment. He's still probably lying exactly where we left him. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. Well, not quite exactly where we left him. I can just see the flick of his tail. Can you see him over my shoulder there?
Listen away.
Oh, sorry. So that flicking of his tail was what gave him away. I didn't actually see him in that grass. It shows you how camouflaged he is. I mean, he's lying literally 1 or 2 meters away from where he was. Could hardly see him. Just that telltale flick of his tail that lets me know that he wasn't too happy with me coming that close to him, but I'm sorry, I couldn't see you, big guy. Your camouflage works too well. This is another really good example of how that disruptive camouflage of his breaks up his profile. Can hardly tell that there's a leopard there, except for when he picked up his head. He hasn't eaten anything more from this morning. I'm just going to reposition here slightly. So folks, we're ending off today with a beautiful view of Kunyuma. We found him with a group effort this morning with a steenbok kill in the tree. He's now lying up with a full belly just next to us. We then tracked a female leopard's tracks or some elephant tracks, hoping that we'd be able to pick them up, but without any luck. We also then saw some kudu, some beautiful kudu. With male kudu, full-grown male kudu in attendance. We had a nice view of a some birds and a starling, some scratch marks in a tree which are uncommon to see. We've answered some nice questions on carrier pigeons. I'm not too sure we've got a conclusive answer from that yet, but it's definitely great set of eyes. And Nikki in final control, we thank you very, very much for joining us. We look forward to this afternoon safari.